them in the same eyes. Ain't wise yet this whole world is on the same side. Them against the God who made the earth and his name's I am that I am Jesus, son of man. He be the Lamb man, daddy the Uncle Sam, universal land. Lord, or the Supreme Court, heaven's king, earth's life support. Boy, sin's got you locked, your mask for you. But like aluminum, you humans to get your plans for you. Your heart beat the soil, I got the seed. The word of God is heard abroad and it starts breeds of believers. Jesus lookalikes, God lovers, sin haters. Look, the mic can be used as a tool to voice God's views. Jesus must be the choice, all choose, all lose if they snooze on the one bruise. Arms are too short, you can't fit the sun's shoes on the 1-2s. The good news comes to all men, he truly went out on a limb.
Look at all the time men are wasting, dying for lack of this information. And we not just thrilled that we giving it out, we skilled in living it out. Hills, we digging them out, build a 4+, hold it down. Stand strong, young soldier, hold your ground. Sticking Christian flag poles in the ground. Keep repping what you believe, and soon you receive your golden crown.
Hey, I'm Razy P. My homie Tupu. Remix.
Hey, bazu tadhani nina stenje, akili kila ngware na grind paka benje itakiri. Hey, mziki shule kwa matenje, shairi nimerudi kwa cha mziki kuna wenye itabidi. Naked truth he talk ni walk ndethe, nikimaliza amigos comprende. Hip hop tele one pishi ni cross mbele, ministry na jidraga I think iko mchele. Jinsa usio fida duski wamekaza mifuto, hapa ningeli medhali na manani ficha, si tumekaza mafumbo kopi na toko na mama kike na wameshindwa kukaza mishuto. Hey, atupendagi makiki mablogo nezaga tukabado tuko stali na flip. Hey, na kaza miruko woo, pene viketi. Hey, na pamba ya butros kasi oleo chini saliji na namba za Hublot. Hey, mademo content wale nishagi majegi ai wapati matuzo.
Yeah. Kakitako wakubwa tukibonga usipepese macho, usipime manota delay, sikuchekei namba mpya tupokee. Don't take it personal, hukumita the rain you know. Riziki na pango ga daily, lowezi jwa day ndo manu touch ku grind kaza maso. Na moodi meji seti kwenye do, na mnyama wenu wameacha legacy ya kujishow. Boda boda bajaji matatu na mikaa, usipime tukora the 9 pokada.
Usipime, gamisha kubali usidani tuko limited kwa jeshi ya ground na usipime. Usani happy miki cheki speli kutikika na shida katra na usipime. Kautaki kugongewa kwako usipime. Katea chia jicha za macho usipime. Kipola pena jipa mapaso usipime. Setu bado jini ko haso.
Miaka 26 nite John Kitime wa mchezo. Wangapi alikwepo wamepita spime kwa 11. Na ukiona kimya ujue niko likizo. Na nikumbusho jana kila nikianza kuchana unasema ujamaa tatizo. Game wani dai la siwezi kuitupa na nitaji. Sote na rapa iki kipaji nimekuwa mwekezaji. Na bado sienda benki kuomba mtaji. Nizibeti na unataji. Dovna nipa audacity nitwa mbakiaji. Yeah, I'm smelling flower na sienda kituro. Me I'm trying to catch a flight to Paris nende piga euro. Brand shakubali, benki zinaongezeka zero. Mziki na ujasiri ya mari, cheki wanavyopigwa doro. Jina ni kubwa bara nigga, keep it low key. Your favorite rapper alianza kunisikiza kiwa class 3. Dead or alive, mini top 3. Walao liza OG, atakupa live, don't even ask me.
Kama pipan cannibal kaibuka, almekita, maboy goy wanashoboka. Nje na ndani na control, na tamba bado na roll, na rise or never fall, yeah. Yes, pesa taslim, napiga beats na top ring. Nilipotoka Mombasani wananiita king, street king. Wanajua fake na real thing. When you rap no potezea, be the last man standing. Wanaongea, OGs tunapepea. Wananisaluku mbona ugopa nkiregea. Unaponijaa juu ya maji nitatembea. Napanda mbegu neno la Mungu ndombolea. Brother usipime, round imekubali walishanivisha crown bongwe bila maswali. Usipime, na creep walk na tema sumna na kunyukumu mola menipa kibali.
Usipime kama huna mzani wala tepu, biti Bikira Maria imekutana na Yosefu. Na batiza vina Yohana kina kirefu. Kambali Mr. Yuda nimetimba mdogo wake Yesu.
Usipime,
hata ukipima bombo ngafu, leta jiki sita kati stamina ni namba chafu. Dunia wenda vice versa kwa jito la tatu. Tatu ina herufi 4 ila 4 ina herufi 3.
Usipime,
na mnanijua si ndio? Mini Dennis Kimetro, kila tuwa ni mbio. Na sina fagio, kila kolabo nacha vilio. Hata lishuke jua chupi haiwezi kwa dekio.
usipime,
hii inapona bila dawa. Leo mechi Kasarani alafu tutabeki amenawa. Msafara wa mamba amkatizi nye kenge na isa rap kilulu na ikasound kama genge.
Uspime, now nishakubali usidhani tuko limited kwa jeshi ya ground na uspime. Uzani happy mikicheki stili kitingika tunawashinya ya trap na uspime. Na utaki kugongewa kwako uspime. Tandea chia jicha za macho uspime. Kipola pena jipa mapaso uspime. Setu bado jini ko haso.
King Kong kwenye kingdom, papa netawala kwenye sea uspime. Monster dangerous me, hardcore sio wativi uspime. Serious Juma ninanesha na nilipo niache. Of course nikikosa nyama nina mkate, nikirenga na kuingia bila taya mate uspime. Wrong twana ni connect kwenye picha. Presidential thing no cartoon kwenye sita. Powerful nyama kwenye chest so matita. Nimeshika vote toka kile mpaka na viondoka kwenye soka wananitaga Ronaldo. Nipo Kingston navuta pembeni ya mavado na represent mtaa na kila siku niko gado. Wa Kenya wanasema mambo bado.
Aseko nigga expert biro. Uzani hype miki juu machine na crumble vile na stretch that kilo. I'm saving these dollars like a Texas hero. Tafuta network you say your net what zero. Tulikubali sana ipay. Jisai na ipay anapata mentions kushinda sana ipay. And shall I say the vile ana ipay. Nafanya hard workers wana stress sana I say. Ati hakuna shortcut mali kuna most cash. So kuma isikufanya mtumwa juu utakose crash. Umaka unazatafuna but ukitop crash utavuna mazao ya hizo rumors no kulo block papus. Uspime juu ukipima unashandwa siwe na mango. Stake jovle jina inatamba. King of Wakanda kan kuroga sindo waganga. Mindo kamanda na usipime hivyo mshapangwa.
Wezi saidia bubo through kumpiga za macho. Yo shit yako ni shit, ebu za macho. Una madami umsho, please pima nene. Asibongi kuhusu weight, nikisema tusipimane. Unagonjwa kwako kama mse mwenye amechelewesha rent. Kwa event mini kila na ni kila event. Najitap nikiwa viko, niko matap na sio mbido. Na kutlap ni kwekerizo, najisot na rap na sio mbido. Mostly slando miutokia kani meji west. Lezi cheza kando utapotea ama utarest. Usheo na wild beast ikibishana na mapest. Wenzako washanyolewa usiulize when you're next. Punch mingi kushinda vita ya majembe na alfayo. Una keep secrets na keep moving mini mchoyo. Sijakataa, Yesu alisafishiwa miguu. But sahi kanyari anasafishia mapoko huku.
Tuko O-block na makando kwa giza. Majome kula nare usiplay na stima. Tuko O-block na makando kwa giza. Leo kuna boy analala kwa freezer. Misogopi smoke, misogopi no. Ndako smoke kama Lauda Canada. Ini Glock 19, nani full clip. Blena anadhani hini banana. To Glock na zina fanana. Zishazoea kubeba lawama. Ground nare watch kanyana kanyaga. Nimerit kinitome pagawa. Fly high, bila mabawa. Na koko high bado jua when you walking dead. Ningekaona beef na mimi ngejinyuri instead. Si spread rumors miganji na spread. Success inani affect. Number una simba tu ikweni badman. Hata sungura na ishinda ujanja. Si lazima kutrace. Kichwa yako neka order. Wakideliver na ikanja. Block na makando kwa giza. Majome kula nare usiplay na stima. Tuko O-block na makando kwa giza. Leo kuna boy analala kwa freezer.
Unstoppable, awezi ni makan makabo. Game 90, El Matador. Ni Nurdin, ujachonga mini mwalalo. Maya Devil kona blue kwenye bangalo. Na buy Sprite, uneza pull up na lean. Zimemshika nika ako jing. We, all this gold, na kama sling. Utadunge hapa wezi fanya kitu na do. Dance la mapiano kitu yote na do. Hizo kicks umevaa ni manamba 2. Liza namba 1 tunafuatanga mdundo. Chimbwa malizwa na makumbo. Wendo kipa karada na achia. Ambia mana top player ameingia. Mi mtu ba na flow kagasia. Niko na knowledge ya kupaki on top. Businessman nazimake nazikopi. Makenya ndio hapa ukida unaweza copy, unaweza copy. Niko na knowledge ya kubaki on top. Businessman nazimake nazikopi. When mtoi wa kukam kichwa chini cheza loki, kichwa chini cheza.
Tuko up block na makando kwa giza. Majame kula nare usiplay na stima. Tuko up block na makando kwa giza. Leo kuna boy analala kwa freezer. Mebuka boy mena devil buka boy mena. Nini worry wana boronja sana tukipatana. Wanajifanya mamori ya mini wa east na sikutambui mori. Technos mini odi jo mini wa east na sikutambui mori. Technos mini odi jo.
Na stack do hadi 34 brick. Foundation imestunya wezi vunja hii brick. Wewe kichwa chini ni mabicycle kick. Itabidi mmetapa hakuna cha picks. Cross uppercut falano na dim dim. Ukidai smoke na mafati na maslim slim. Official shot nimepigilia na bling bling. Mini kingpin
unstoppable, stoppable, stoppable. Hatusikizi trap boys au zinabo. Niko hustle nina die only modo. Funga mdomo wewe modo.
Ati up block niko patrol. Mafans wako chini wanashinda wamenitisha za macho. Sina kitu kula vako. Do zingine ziko kwa trafon kata hiyo mwethe. Up block niko patrol. Mafans wako chini wanashinda wamenitisha za macho. Sina kitu kula vako. Do zingine ziko kwa trafon kata hiyo pinche.
Tuko up block na makando kwa giza. Majame kula nare usiplay na stima. Tuko up block na makando kwa giza. Leo kuna boy analala kwa freezer. Misiogopi smoke, misiogopi no. Ndaku smoke kama loud ya Canada. Hini Glock 19, nani full clip. Blena anadhani hini banana. Tu Glock na zina fanana.
Boka Rodoba It's alright on mfupi ndo maana na look up to me. Ground tunajua vizuri buri kwangi east. Saka stage upak nduzi ndo come to beef. 1960 ndio real sick up mavin. Transport yenyu nimepandisha kwa ngoshi. Ni wakupita tunajua ni mamoshi. Adi odi si wote tunajua nyini masoshi. Ni adi teacher lazima tumge kofi. Kojolelea ngori tunga ni nani unaongelelea. Gold boy adi kwa freezer na watokelezea damn site. Maasi kuna mali wataozea damn site. Kojolelea ngori tunga ni nani unaongelelea. Gold boy adi kwa freezer na watokelezea damn site. Maasi kuna mali wataozea damn site. Tukudump vula ina tuko on my side. Unajua nini kusu kutafuta kusurvive. Kifagia na toja sibidi nilikuwa na chai. Wangapi wamedunda ulizia mic na Masai. Ndege ya London nimecrash into Jamaica. Dream kutoka block walibaki wakirenga. Msoka tajependana no murenga. Vuta mbegega fala na seba. Mwenye atatoka mtiti wa kwanza hako na jegi. Juu ya wagono sundwe ndani ya begi. Tukiwa mategi mlikuwa mna trend mneti. Mkijifanya mapedi mkisumbwana na mabedi. Kojolelea ngori tunga ni nani unaongelelea. Gold boy hadi kwa freezer na watokelezea damn site. Maasi kuna mali wataozea damn site. Kojolelea ngori tunga ni nani unaongelelea. Gold boy hadi kwa freezer na watokelezea damn site. Maasi kuna mali wataozea. Sina worry wa kisakwa search modaiga kwa Google. Najua ni kitu different umepata. Niko solo labda ukuje na your brothers. Iza niko hood na magun naita brothers. Wanajaribu kudistract career na hizo distract bandia. Watu na kila msema nyame kwa menia kudicrite kwa empty. Utadha
sidhani Zakaria. Kalia, kalia, kotolelea, ngori, chungani nani unaongelelea. Cold boy, ati kofriza na watokelezea. Damn site, maadhi kuna mali wataozea. Damn site.
This is AINT Radio.
Called Levy Seal. He always likes saying when gets on, like, you better know. Yeah. You're the beat maker, not the beat taker. 10 fingers in the air. I want to see 10 fingers in the air. And if you don't know, you better ask your mama or ask Akinyi with a good hair. Yes, once again, we're back on the vault here with the beat maker. Hey, it's been a crazy week, you know. Some people are saying, yeah, hip-hop is back in Kenya. Hip-hop is reigning. Today we're going to talk about the different things that have been going down. But, yo, it's been a blast. It's been a blast. So much has been going on. Been playing for you some hard. Today I decided, let me play for you some other kind of music probably that hasn't been heard for a minute. Usually on the Vault, we like playing, music from East Africa. But today I decided to touch up some of the old school music that made hip hop. There's a group back around the late 90s, going towards the 2000s, was called Gospel Gangsters. Yeah, these guys who actually were real G's for life, what we call the gangsters. They're real G's for life. These are guys who were actually gangsters and turned their life to Christ, so hence the name Gospel Gangsters. They had awesome music, that was coming up at that time. Had that West Coast kind of feel, you just feel like bobbing your head. You feel like getting in your car, and just jumping to their music. That was Gospel Gangsters. Apart from them, we played Ambassador and the Cross Movement. And Cross Movement was also a group, they had big records out there, and one of the tunes we play is they ask a question: what do you see when you close your eyes? What do you see when life passes you by? Either you see God or your heart is real hard. I think Kenya needs to hear that music, especially right now, especially with all the hip hop beef that's going on. We need to take a step back. We need to take a minute back and reevaluate. Of course, we had to play the record that Calligraph put out, with other rappers. A lot of guys are saying that when they listen to, and I have my own opinion also, but a lot of guys are saying when they listen to that particular record, one of the guys that they were happy to hear that they've not heard from a long time is Cannibal. Yeah? Yes, Cannibal. Yeah? I don't know if some of you guys remember Cannibal back in the days, Cannibal and Sharama. Yeah, Kichoki Bov. Yeah? Those are back in the days. Cannibal is an amazing artist. He's actually been here on Icon Radio. He came through on Icon Radio, but he called himself the chosen one now, doing gospel music, different direction. So it was good to see him on that particular record, where he brought that sound, he brought his element. There were other good artists on that record, but a lot of guys are saying for them, they got excited when they saw Cannibal. Cannibal is the one that stuck out. It was all positive. I mean, Calligraph is really one thing that he is really trying to do is he's really trying to put out these records and promote other artists apart from himself. Of course, by promoting these other artists, he promotes himself at the end of the day. But he's taking a lot of time to do that. He's been doing that for a minute right now. So we got to give him his flowers on that. Whether people like him or they don't, it's irrelevant. It's what is he doing, that he's bringing up other artists, and I feel that that's a good way to go. And especially right now, he's bringing up other artists from the past. Like he was on a record with Keishaka Kalamashaka, putting out the record together. So, I mean, there's great things that are happening, Kenya is coming back in the place where it was before, where they were the kings of hip-hop, the kings of rap music in Africa, and that's great to see that Kenya is coming back. Now, this particular thing that's really trending right now online and really becoming big is a beef that's been going on between Brooklyn boys. I don't know if I'm saying, other people say Brooklyn boys, you know, and Toxic Lyrically, you know, and both of them have put out their records. You know, there's a conflict going on between the two right now, you know. Of course, we were saying, hey, you know, they're in a position where people have to choose sides right now, you know, about the music, because apparently what happened was Toxic came out and said, hey, you guys, from what I know, he said, you guys, you are in drill. Now you're trying to do all this other stuff. Just stick in your lane. Don't move from your lane. Stick where you're supposed to be. And they were not feeling it at all. They're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Is this just your lane? Like, nah, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. So a record was put out, because what happened was it escalated between Kailo-based rapper Toxic Lyrically and the Brooklyn boys, Mr. Right and AJ from Buru Buru. Yeah, they came out, you know, and said, oh, so you wanna go there, you wanna go down that pathway. So what happened originally was Brooklyn Bass came out with that record called Steamer, you know. They're pumping it out there, and they were saying their point of view of what they think. You know, they represent the drill sound, you know. But Toxic came back with his record called Dumb Sight. You know, now a lot of people have been listening. We played both records today on here on the Vote on Icon Radio. And we're all about positivity, but we're also about talking about what's going on in the Kenya music scene. And before I even came on the show today, I had to call up some G's that I know over here and get their point of view of what they felt about both records. Now, before I even get into both records, there's also been another beef, because I saw online that Oxido, another rapper who's been in the game for a long time and is well represented. I've been around the guy a few times, find him to be a humble guy, you know, but he wasn't feeling Brooklyn boys. He's like, you guys, what did you do? You went on a record and stole some of my lines, you know? Like, so I don't have time to play his record right now. I'll play it next time. But maybe if you guys have a chance for listening to Vote, you can go have a listen to it and see what you think. So he had some in quotes, he had some harsh language to say about them. It wasn't very kind language about them. He called them some names that I cannot say on radio, and I'm thankful I'm not going to say those names on radio. But if you want, you go check it out for yourself. So what's happened is there's this beef that's been coming out, you know? And what happened is the thing about beef is people have to choose sides. That's a problem with beef. That's one issue that goes on with these beef records. For example, if you look at some of the records we've seen in the past, you know, like when there was Biggie and there was Tupac, you know, people chose sides, you know. Tupac, of course, if you remember the history of him, he came with a record where he felt a certain way about Biggie. He felt like Biggie was playing him out. He wasn't being an honest friend. And he came up with Hit 'Em Up, you know. And because of that, he had a lot to say about even Biggie's wife at that time, Faith Evans. And because people listened to it, they had to choose sides also. They're like, oh, did Tupac just say that? You know? So later on, Biggie does Who Shot You? You know? And Tupac took it personally. Like, he felt like he was being dissed because that's an old record that I did a long time ago, before even all this thing came up. And that's what I mean. People always have to choose sides. If you look at the rap beef that came up between LL Cool J and Cannabis, you know, Cannabis actually was on a record with LL Cool J, with Redman, a few other guys were on it. I think DMX is also there, you know, and he actually, in the record, he says, hey, because LL Cool J had this tattoo of a mic, and it's on his arm, you know, so it's held like a mic on his arm, and he just said, hey, can I borrow that mic? LL Cool J took that thing personally. He was like, what? What do you mean, can you borrow that mic? The mic is mine. I'm number one, you know? And back in the days, there was a huge element of ego-ness in hip-hop. Like it was massive the way guys would take things. And so when I even saw the interview and guys like Redman and other guys were talking, they're like, man, like Cannabis is an easygoing guy. He had no beef. He had nothing. He had nothing really to benefit from saying that. He just had that. He loved the way the tattoo looked, and he wanted to use it in one of his rhymes. That's what happened. So there's like, so they're like sometimes Kuje overthinks, he overgoes on the level of sometimes taking things too far, and so because of that, and he was like he dissed. He dissed Cannabis. Hey man, like in the hip hop community, there's one rule that they say. They say you never bow down. You never take a step back. If someone comes for you, then you have to be able to come for them. And I feel that's what's happening between Brooklyn Boys and Toxic Lyrically. That's what I feel is really going on. All the pride and the ego. That's a bunch of it's a bunch of ridiculousness. And I feel like at the end of the day, there's some decisions that had to be made, and it's like I feel like when Toxic said you guys should just stay in your lane, you guys are you started with drill, but now you want to try to do this other sound that I was doing before you. I mean, who really gives a care, So today I was saying, I asked one question. I asked all the people listening on our social media pages today that follow the follow icon radio. I said, sometimes is this math really mathing out? Just because you have a certain name in hip hop, does that make you great? Then what next? I feel a lot of guys in hip hop feel they have to live up to a certain potential of what they think is right, and they don't want to move on. So when I reached out to the G's, like I said, and I asked them, hey, what do you feel about these two records that have come out? What do you feel about Brooklyn Boys? And Brooklyn Boys have been here before. Like, they've been here before on the Vault. They did a cypher also. So we've had them here. So, I say they're pretty chilled out guys. I wasn't necessarily there when they came out, but they did their thing and they represented, So, once again, I said the question was asked, like, what is felt, really? And from what I heard from the grapevine, there used to be a song back in the days, heard it from the grapevine. So this is the grapevine I'm putting out for you guys who are tuning in to listen to of what the real story is about, at least the story on this side. And so when people have heard both records said, at the end of the day, some of them said that Toxic's record wasn't really that great at all. They felt like there's nothing that he was really saying. There was no flow that he was really putting out that represented great. No, at the end of the day, those are some opinions. On the other side, there's quite a number of people that felt that Brooklyn Boys represented, with Stima. They feel they represented on the video and how they put it together, and how they weren't going to be shut down. So some people were happy about that. And of course, it's been streaming online and it has good numbers right now online, So who knows what happened tomorrow? But today, as it is, it has good numbers. But a lot of guys are like, they came through. But what they're saying also, did it really hit? Some one of the guys I spoke today actually told me. He told me that he feels that there are more battle MCs. In terms of being a battle MC, then Brooklyn Boys are better battle MCs than actually Toxic. They feel like the person felt like, they took that sound, the UK, there's so many types of drills. There's so many types of drills out there. This, what we're talking about, is the UK drill, that we're talking about, and it's quite hardcore in a way. Now, my point of view about it was, I just wish Brooklyn would have represented more. That's my point of view. Maybe I'm too technical. Maybe I'm talking from a production point of view, because they're not the only guys who have ever done a diss rap in Kenya, but I felt like they're a bit too laid back, for me. I want to feel more of that energy coming from them, because I've heard a lot of battle raps. I've heard a lot of guys dissing each other, both male and female. Don't forget there was a time in Kenya. There was there was a time where the ladies also had come through, and they said who's the best, and they're coming out and dissing each other also. So I've heard a lot of records. I felt like they could have represented better. I felt like they were just murmuring. But when I listened to Toxic, I also feel like he could have come better. Like some of the stuff he's saying is laughable, in a way. Like he's talking about how they're short, and so you start to think about that, but it's not necessarily about me right now. I'm talking about the guys who have come through and said, hey, what they felt about the record. They feel that that Brooklyn Boys represented better on a record, and that's why their numbers are better right now. But my question is this, and I want to ask everyone who's listening right now to the vote. A lot of times we have this thing where we tell ourselves that because a song is streaming, you have like within 3 days, you have like 1.5 million or 2 million people who have checked out your record and are bobbing their heads to it. When I say bobbing, they're going up and down, they're moving their heads, they're swinging high, swing low, sweet chariot. That's what they're doing. But does that mean that your record is great? Does that mean you are great? And the problem with hip hop is, there's one problem with hip hop is, and it's not just hip hop, but it's around music around the world that happens. Like, let's say you're coming up as an artist, and then your name rides, and then you put out a record that everyone is feeling it, everyone is jumping to it. So now you have a lot of pressure. You have that pressure that you got to put out more records to make people love what you are doing, and at the end of the day, you find yourself slowly falling out, slowly fading out. There's so many battle rappers, there's so many ciphers have taken place from the past, where people had a problem. Don't forget there was the beef between Bamboo, they had with kleptomaniacs. Interesting enough, you know what? I actually am the one who produced the beat for that record. I didn't record it. Someone actually stole my beat in a way and put their name on it. So when it begins, you hear some other company there. And I remember some people who were around me, including people in my family, were not too happy with that, because they're like, why would that name be put over there? But Bamboo had some pretty things, harsh things to say on that record. And I remember, like, I wasn't even around in the country when that record was done. I was still abroad, I was in the UK at that time, where I actually made the beat. I wasn't around. Then I sent it to my boy over here, Ambrose, of Ambrose Okabi, we call him Mr. Digi or Mandugu Digital. I sent it to him, and that's how they got on the record. But there's another version also of Uko Flani on the same record. I never knew what happened with that record till I came back to Kenya, and then I was told. First of all, when I came back, the record was playing all over the place. Every place was playing. DJs were playing it. Radio stations were playing it. And they were going each at each other. Klepto had their version, and of course, Bamboo of K-South Flavor had his. And I would tell people, by the way, I'm the one who made that beat. They're like, what? You made that beat? The way Bamboo came after them was vicious. So it's not the first time that we have guys who come after each other. In Kenya we have a history of it. And but at the same time, like, you ask yourself, like, is it really worth it? What do you think is gonna be the ending to this whole thing? Because what they're saying right now is that the one between Toxic and actually Brooklyn Boys has gone to a way where it has become like violent, and one thing they always say is that when you put out a record, it should not get to that point where the conflict becomes like it's almost violent. You know, it is a diss track, you know, that they've each put out, you know, but does it need to get to that point where people almost like tearing each other up? You know, does it need to get to that point? I know like there's been histories, like I said, of a lot of diss tracks that have been put out in this country, you know, but people just put out diss tracks because they have something to say, you know, and there's so many diss tracks. If we go back in the history, and another thing that was brought up to me was the problem with these young rappers who are coming up is they really don't know the history of these diss tracks and how they are in Kenya itself. Like I said, there have been way more diss tracks from before. You know, people are getting hyped up right now and having to choose sides because maybe you are lying to some of these rappers. So if you come from one area, like of late, I was telling someone of late, it seems like a lot of these rappers are coming from Kayole. Before they used to say the rappers are coming from Dandora, you know. Now it's Kayole, you know. And Kayole has a long history of a lot of rappers. This way Dandora has a history of a lot of rappers coming. Today, one of the songs that we played here on the Vault was a guy that I knew back in the days, and he was called Gorilla. Not like the animal. It's like G-O, then real, then A, you know. And song that we played is called Jesus for Life. When I met him, he was in a crew from Kayole. Now, when we talk about him being in a crew in Kayole, this is like 1998, 1999. So most of these guys who rap right now from Kayole probably were not around. You know, he was in a crew called Dark Side. And I remember they all used to dress in black, you know, and they always used to cover their eyes with the Marvin, you know. That's how they were. So he decided he wanted to do his own solo record. So it was called Jesus for Life, you know. And it's like he was talking about his experiences. But it's like, even back in the days, a lot of these artists had issues with each other. A lot of them had. But what you do is when you have an issue with someone else, you get on the mic and represent. You get on the mic and give your point of view. But it should never get to that point where it gets violent, you know. Now, you may ask yourself, like, what is the real reason why these artists are having like issues with each other, you know? Like, for example, Toxic said that he told Brooklyn to stay in their lane, basically. He told them, like, you guys weren't doing this kind of music before, but now all of a sudden, you're doing, like, you want to do all this other stuff that I've been doing before you. So, but the question is there a rule? Is there a rule that if he did it before Brooklyn Boys, that Brooklyn Boys cannot do? That to me is ridiculous, you know? Like, music is free. Anyone can do what they want. And what comes with people having these issues where they almost like want to fight and battle each other and tear each other to the limbs, it's just ego and pride. And rap is built massively on ego and pride, you know? It's been there for the longest time, you know? If you look at some of the rappers from way back, you know, in the 80s, going towards the 90s, that's what it was. It was on their pride. They were representing from where they came from. If I came from a certain area, where I grew up in a certain area, I have pride for my area. So that's what I was doing, you know? So first of all, it's about ego and it's about pride, you know? And you look at them, like I saw the other day online that actually Ice Cube, who originally was part of NWA, he said that Hit 'Em Up that Tupac did, it was okay, it was good, but it's not great like some of the raps that he wrote, because he took apart the whole crew of NWA by himself, you know. But when it comes to Tupac, he needed a whole other crew with him to be on the record to make it stand out. So what is that? That's pride. We have the same pride over here, you know? And because of this pride, what's happening right now, if you go up there and you check what's happening about this record specifically that have been put out by both, whether it's Stima or Damsai, you know, whatever record it is, people right now are choosing who they want to align themselves with. And you align yourselves a lot of times because it's based on not even a record being great. It's more based on where you come from, your territory. because hip hop has always been very competitive, and it will never stop being competitive. It's in that place where it has to be competitive. It has to go through a certain way for it to stick out, And when people, hip hop is one of the cultures that when people come at each other, they don't hold anything back. And there's been beefs in other cultures. I mean, other music before. Like there's been beef in disco music. There's been beef even in R&B music. There's been beef in other things. Even there's a time I heard, like back in the days, guys who do orchestral music. They're like, that music. They used to have beefs. They used to meet up and have beef. Like it was no joke. They say, okay, you sing, then I'll sing. Even soul music has had beef. But the one that's been the most physical out of all of them is rap music from the hip hop culture. So you say, hey, I'm representing. Like when you'll probably see that the beef that we're having right now in Kenya the same way. Brooklyn Boys are representing Buruburu. Yeah? Toxic is representing Kayole. So you're like, so people who probably from Kayole will stick with Toxic. Guys from Buru will probably stick with Brooklyn Boys. That's how it is. That's how personal it can get. But then back in the days, some of the beefs, what used to happen was they used to have a beef. They used to have beefs, but it never really used to get physical because people used to step in and be like, hey, let's leave it on the record. Now, you may ask yourself, why do even people put out these diss tracks apart from you feeling that you got to represent? Another reason why people actually put out these diss records is because they're good money makers. They make money. People would go and want to hear what that person is saying about this other person, so they buy the record. Now, I don't know if people are buying this record because since social media checked in, it's a whole different game right now. But there's times where people just be like, they kept their beef. It never became into fighting or any of that thing. They kept that distance, for people just hear the music. One of them was example of when Jay-Z had a beef with Nas. And let's be honest, a lot of people had to choose sides. I know a lot of guys, including myself, that liked how Nas was representing, because Nas just seemed to be a chill out guy. You didn't expect some of the stuff that came out of his mouth to come out of his mouth. Like I remember there's one line that he said, and he said that Jay-Z has the most ridiculous lips in hip hop. Whoa, that was brutal. That was like, I was like, my goodness, like, did I just hear that coming from Nas? But at no point did you hear Nas said his stuff, Jay-Z said his stuff, but always remained on wax. It never became like a physical kind of thing. So for these young dudes who are coming out right now, want to make it a war, like you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time getting. And I always tell people, if they're gonna get into a diss track, do your diss track and walk away. Like, don't let it get to that point where now you want to fight each other. And it's usually sometimes not even you who fights. It's usually the people who are around you, the crew that's around you, that wants to bring in the problem. They'll be like, hey, ati amesemaje, and that's what it is. So Kenyans are getting excited right now because it's kind of ignited them. It's brought hip hop to them to back where it used to be, and they're getting excited about like, oh, this is what's happening. So, but at the same time, as you're loving it, you're choosing who you want to be around more. Now, do I feel personally, when I listen to both of the records, do I as a beat maker, do I feel personally that they killed it on their flow? I felt like when I heard Brooklyn, I felt like I said before, like they were kind of murmuring. I was just like, yo, give me more energy. That's what I want to hear. I don't care about, like, for someone who's lived in the UK, I really don't care about the UK drill. Before the UK drill was grime, I'm more concerned about what we're doing in our own country, So when you're making music, and I've said this before, make your music that works for you. Because if it works for you, then all those people out there will just line up to it. That's how it works, So when I heard Brooklyn, I was just like, okay, the video stood out. It looked pretty good. And everything. I liked how they're moving around in the video. It seemed a bit different. Not a lot of movement, but it seemed good. but it's like I felt they could have done more. And like I said, if you know about the history of Kenyan diss tracks, there's been a lot of diss tracks that have come out that people have really put their time into them. So I felt they could have done better. When it comes to Toxic, you know, I was like, half the time I was asking myself, what is he really saying? You know, what is he really saying in his lyrics? Like, he's not making it pop the way he should also. And so to me, it's just that's why I said sometimes, is this math really mathing out? You know, just because you feel you're a hip-hop name, does that make you great? Even if 10 million people would come right now and stream, it's because of curiosity that they'll probably stream your music. But does that make you great in what you do? Now, you may be feeling like, yo, the Beatmaker is a hater. He's hating right now, you know? And so what? It's my opinion. I stand by it. You know, that's me. As I say, what you gonna do? Wagwan. That's me. You know, that's my opinion, you know? And I felt like, and I've been I've been around a lot of artists for many years. And I'm not excluding that they have something great inside of both of them. I'm just feeling they could all do greater. But this whole thing of trying to control how the music scene runs and rules, that's not what they should be even focused on, you know? I remember there's one time that there's a guy who had beef with Jirongi. I remember, you know, I think it was Flames. I think it was called Flames or something like that. And yo, it was almost becoming violent also. That was gonna go to a different direction because I know the wrong G the way he is. You know, when he's really passionate about something. This other dude, I really don't know him much, but he did come for an interview here on The Vault and talk about his music career and talk about that particular beef. And one thing I remember telling him at that point, and he can even quote me on this, I actually told him, you know what? You know, this whole beef that you're getting involved in, I said, you're a father, you know, and this is ridiculous, you know, like getting involved with so much. The only people who really get excited are the people on the outside, you know, so there's no need for that. I said, you focus on what you're doing, focus on your family, focus on the music that you want to do, but it doesn't have to get violent, you know. And so there is a lot of history in Kenya that we have right now of artists who have come before, who've actually put out records and also could have become violent. So you ask yourself, who's really benefiting at the end of the game? And yeah, let's say you're a hip-hop head that people have known for years, and you put out a lot of records, you put out a lot of music out of there that people have heard for years, you know? So what does that mean at the end of the day? You know, does it mean that you have to go to a certain pathway? Who are you putting out the music for? When these two guys were putting out, and one person, okay, we know, came with a diss track, and one person was responding to what was said, you know? But then my question is, what's next? Yeah, you put out your diss, you said this is this, and you said this is next. So what's next? So I'm curious here. If you're listening right now to The Vote, I'm curious of hearing what your point is, what your view is about this so-called diss track. Was it really that great? Are you feeling it? What do you think how it should be handled? You know, because, you know, a lot of times people say blood just leads to more blood. So let's just keep it clean. We're here on The Vault with the Beatmaker. Tune in, stay blessed. I'll play some music, some Kenyan music that you'll love to hear.
There's an attack on Christ in hip-hop. That's like a man in Timberlands getting getting dissed by a man in flip-flops. Will it stop? Yes, but not until we get dropped. Then Jesus universally will get props. It's not wise in my eyes for small guys to diss Jesus Christ and be some so-called gods. You're all off sides. You're blind to the fact that God the Son takes lives, and one day we'll make them all rise. Just to judge him, find out what you thought of him. Did you love him, or was he just a dime a dozen? My mic's plugged in to confront the average rap star or the rap listener. Chilling in your fat car, the facts are, no matter what your stats are. Most R&B and rapper tracks to make God pull out his hacksaw and disconnect them, cause they won't respect them. Once you get them flexing, then I'm jetting, cause then no one can protect them. Yeah.
Tough guys who say they rough ride, but what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, but what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, but what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride,
but I've seen him meet Elohim and no more tough side. As I drop, I got to stop like the red octagon. I never said I could rhyme, I only said God's the bomb. When the mic is mine, Jesus will be in it every time. It's hard to keep fans when the man's up in every line, but that's okay, my payday came when Yahweh visited Calvary. Crushed the sun to pay my salary. Bet it, let it be known we're all indebted, cause one sin overcharged our credit. To the grave we was headed, the spiritual paralytics. Then Christ came to save like the paramedics. Check it, almost naked with his arms spread, it still said, come on with it. The Lord of prophets in the psalm said it, and now I get it. It's a chance to make a record, watch me set it. Or for Jesus, it gets rejected. On the regular, I bet you that secular mind makes you think mankind is on the rise like the crime rates. The wickeder the jam, the more money that it makes, but the more that it takes to break the patty cake. Childlike mental state, my pencil breaks trying to write lyrics to infiltrate. You must be unregenerate.
yeah. What a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride,
but I've seen him meet Elohim and no more tough side. I know holier than thou, pal. I'm not bashing you, I'm just trying to be frank, like a Hebrew national. Get it straight, the human race of death row inmate. One liberates, but he's the one that most men hate when sin takes, or should I say took the world captive. Death came after the universal disaster, just before they wrote the final chapter. Out of the blue, the best made a move like a true chess master. And absolutely brought sin and death to its knees by dying on a tree with no leaves. True indeed, Jesus is who we be, the only one that saves men from the heavenlies, but down to earth like the pavement. Cheer this champion, no more dissing him. On the count of three, start kissing him. 1, 2, 3. I feel the romance from Father Abba, the lover man with more rape than Shabba. Some think death ends the drama, but I'ma remind you death is not a period, it's just a comma.
we live with tough guys who say they rough ride, what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride, what a relief it is to be in Jesus. We live with tough guys who say they rough ride,
but I've seen him meet Elohim and no more tough side. Imagine that, hardcore brothers who'd rather be in Jesus Christ than to be rough or tough. Ha, no Glocks, no vests, no 40s.
For all of those who don't know, it's a rumba on the bit, and I'm feeling myself. Hey, kwenye track na wabeba kamizigo, na Instagram wana follow kamifugo. Lyric wise na watafuna kibalagala. That's why some call me the Undertaker. Vile na wateka nyara, mimi swara, yani swala bala. Mavazi nayo na yadunga swaga bala. Haya, na drum nasikia. Haya, from the east to the west mimbaya. Siku hizi napiga sala, yani dua kwa baba, yani mola. Ingali nyinyi mumezuba, dubadua, kimalamala, ufalafala. Ngoma nayo na kichanua kimonster, lakini haters watasema ati mi impasta. Mi mkare, na zangu zikishika itabidi wamesare. So simsare, mle alafu mkalale. Lakini mniwezi kusema kweli, mistari kama tali kweli, si ordinary na ziko ready, nimeziseti. Bas, muziki pole pole sio After job ni likizo, baby wangu ni mzito, nickname ni Kizito. Anyway, sitaki peace, nataka beef, na ikuje na kamboga sosa na kapiripiri. I mean pilipili, yes, mimi machachari, mtamu kachari, wengine usema sali. Tulia, dunia kubwa, pupa na maswali watafurahia. Takishika shikisha, tukishikwa shikika, shikamana yo shikamo maraba wagwan. Mwili si sabuni inaoshwa inaisha. Kama ni kasponyo boronga left and right, mchangamsha changamke, uchachishe achachike, alafu nasa nasa ukitaka takasa. Nairobi ni anasa tupu, mse akileta confusion anakula blue tick, then anasindikizwa na kablock real quick, then watatweet kwa mtandao ati umetupa mbao. Shauri yao, my feelings ni zao, mapenzi kiherehere yao, kazi ya moyo kusukuma damu, siku zozana bila adabu. Bas, muziki pole pole sio fast, na kama ni ndukule basi pass, sherekea bila kawas, wazi ni the beatmaker. Omoka, fasting na weka ni matiti bonoko, zikae fiti, yani kiboko, na nisisikie mkisema ati mimi ni poko. Yes, ninaringa ata mnitusi ati mimi tausi. Always smelling nice, always rock that ice. I got an eye of the tiger and they keep it on the price. Can't lose my focus, I keep it running, never look behind, man, I keep it running. Bas, muziki pole pole sio fast, na kama ni ndukule basi pass, sherekea bila kawas, wazi ni the beatmaker.
Nimekuja all the single ladies simseme hallelujah. Groupie na kiudi sana feel mini Buddha. Surrounded by the ladies maswali ni who that. Young gifted and brown energetic like Luda. Fresh like Gucci boy you are old like Puma. Men you are so nervous yes you in a blue shirt. Take care of your girl before you turn to Dracula. I'm the baddest new season size ya Bermuda. When I go around lango zote ziufungwa. Boy so hot now you need to get a cooler. Zero sitting down Nicky Road unazusha.
Looking so fly. When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that. Looking so fly. When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that.
I like it when they scream and I know it sounds crazy. When I get closer and they like hey baby. Boy so hard I still a couple of my ladies. Kwanza wale fine joka Katy Perry. Slim na ni hada, mtoto na kihaga. Mia msiki mata, dem ana mada motivation ka Kelly. Simbo na ni mchocolate design ya Halle Berry. Awe funny kiasi to replace Tom and Jerry.
When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that. Looking so fly. When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that. I make happen wherever I go. Boys go crazy when I dip it low. The way I whine and drop it slow. Everybody come watch the show. I make happen wherever I go. Boys go crazy when I dip it low. The way I whine and drop it slow. Everybody come watch the show. Looking so fly. When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that. Looking so fly. When I step in the club everybody know my name. Gonna tear it up tonight. I know I'm tired like that. I make happen wherever I go. Boys go crazy when when I dip it low. The way I whine and drop it slow. Everybody come watch the show. I make it done wherever I go. Boys go crazy when I dip it low. The way I whine and drop it slow. Everybody come watch the show.
Yeah, put your law. Mau Koflan. DC, DG, Philadelphia. Wanahofia. Yeah. Kuna conflict bado ndani ya concrete jungle. Duna pages kuhaso. Mitambo za Islands, Iswa. Walioshikwa, wakifight for justice. Crisis za DC, mitaziko kwa TV. Fela, ulizamini nani? Tunawasela mpaka jela ndani. Dedication man kwa youth 21 God salute. Vijana wanaokuwa ganja flu. Hata kaa kuna njaa phase 2. Kuna sanaa phase 2. Vichwa zi phase juu. Just imagine scriptures zimefichwa kwa vichwa na Marvin. Image iliundwa na singo za Marvin. Wenye jindani ya kazi nashika mic na siyachi. Dagi, yeah, Philadelphia, what's your name? Siyachi.
madhari au mwimbili kwa kwenye chat kwangu sio big deal hata nikiwemo imanishi niko real still recognize real still kama drill na keep it real kama kalapina niko still kama hill na still D-Black na chill nigga please na skills kama DJs nazo kill ambizo si una feel acha niendelee kuharibia hii instrumental sitatoka ghetto kama Zadandora imanishi mimi mkora sio kama ubabini huku kilemawa na kupora mapopoa na tusorora acheni sororaji hapa kuna uporaji hapa vipaji uko flani maumau kikosi cha mzinga exclusive new shit connection na Delphia au baby
Kijani's in the house. She is the Yo. Cypher Studios. DTS MG. Sing it, girl.
Announcement, I am single again. Nimewasha na drama ya yesterday. It's a new day. It's 2011. Wacha nitulie. This friend now, baby girl, time. Hakuna kurudi nyuma. Live my life. The most, yeah. Usilete, baby, I want you back. I miss you, baby. Wataka nini we? Wataka nini? Wataka nini we? Wataka nini we? Wataka nini we? Wataka nini we?
Ya jana ilikuwa ya jana, niko wakati ya kuwa mtu wa sahihi. Kama drama nionyeshe mgongo, please, please, return to sender. Let's be pamoja, you are an offender. Okay, right now I'm going to CFN. Things I'm learning, I'm a damn kijani. Colors were big, yeah, amani. That's how we do it, nini kwani.
Itabidi ukanyage break. Yeah, tuliza boli. So, usilete za hapana. Yeah, umesikia? Umeshika, Nina ambitions bigger than a monster. Kama silingine, basi vipi
Wataka nini we? Wataka nini we? Wataka nini we? Wataka nini? Wataka nini we? 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 Wataka nini?
Oi, 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 oi. Mambo vipi watu wangu? Ni Cannibal Chosen One and you're listening to Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug. Bless it.
Yeah, you heard it well. We're here on The Vault, the number one in Kenya for hip-hop all the way. You're here with the beat maker, not the beat taker. 10 fingers in the air, yeah, kumi, yeah, in the air. And if you don't know, you better ask your mom or ask Akinyi with the good hair. How would you Akinyi? Sijui where you live. Yeah, all of us know Akinyi. Yeah? Yeah. So before we went on the break, we were talking about the hot topic that's going on right now in the 254. And that, of course, is these diss tracks that are happening. And one of the questions I ask is, what happens when the math just ain't mathing up just because you believe you're the hottest thing in hip-hop? Oh my goodness. Like I've been checking out this story of what's been going on. It's just been amazing me also. Because I for example don't understand like why people would go to war over something like this, you know? And it's saying that because of this diss track, Dumb Site also by Toxic, a response to Brooklyn boy Steamer, clashes have reportedly occurred between fans in Dawn Home. Like, why would you fight over something you can't control? It doesn't make sense to me, you know? Like, pop, you want to fight? You want to, yeah, like, it doesn't make sense at all, by the way. I mean, you can say your piece and just be like, yeah, I said it, and I'm out, you know? So it doesn't make sense to me, you know? And the thing is, when you look at why actually Dogs has an issue, one of the things that came up was he has accused Brooklyn Boys of riding the wave of the trap dancehall sound. He claims to have popularized in Kenya that sound, declaring himself the dancehall Adi teacher of Kenya. So let me get this right. So he has a problem with also them because they were just doing drill. But now they're like dance hall trap. So does that mean if I, the beat maker today, decide, hey, you know what? I want to get into dancehall trap now. I want to do some I want to do some rhythm thing there with dancehall trap. Does that mean, by the way, yeah, that he's gonna have an issue? And by the way, he's not the only one. They're not the only one of done dancehall trap. I've worked with artists who have done dancehall trap. For example, there's my boy Levy Seal. You know, he's been in the dancehall game forever. You know, he's worked with artists from Jamaica. He's worked with artists all different parts of the world, and he has a dancehall trap song that he did like was like I think about 2 or 3 years ago. You know, does that make him like a threat also? You know, this whole thing of people looking for war over things that don't make sense, you know, just to diss someone else, it doesn't make sense at all. You know, all you can do is you'll be stuck in a way of a realm of how you do your things, and if some people don't agree with you, you want to fight them. You can't fight everyone in the world. Even people people like Mike Tyson knew when to throw their jabs and when to pull back. You know, so you've got to realize. But we got to ask ourselves also, what is the reason behind this? Is like how does it help? And one thing you see about diss tracks, one of the reasons why people do them is because it proves your lyrical skill, how talented, how you are at putting together lyrics actually and putting them out there. See, a well-crafted diss track actually shows your level. One of the artists who did this and would come after, and he actually made it public and he said, I'll come after if I see an artist out there who has a diss track. I mean, an artist out there who's reigning on not a diss track, but is reigning on the charts right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come for them. And in case you don't know who that is KRS-One. KRS-One is known for being one of the most talented, most greatest rappers of all time up till now. You know, and he would say, hey, if I see you on the top charts, if you're on the top 10, I have no issue with you. I'm just coming for you. I have a rap for you. I have a rap to tear apart your career, you know? So a lot of guys who do these rap disses is actually proving their lyrical status of how good they are, you know? So when lyrical, he comes and says like he's the only one, it's like he says you guys were doing drill before, but now you're doing trap dance hall, you know? So let me get this right. Everyone who comes right now is going to do a trap dance hall. And you may find a lot of guys right now, because of that statement, who are going to come out and do trap dance hall and put out records out there. Is he going to diss every single one of them? Guess what? It's going to be a long, long year if you're trying to diss everyone out, you know? It will never work to how you want it to work. And so I think is, at the end of the day, I think on both sides, egos were bruised. That's what it really was, you know? On one side, he had what he had to say. They had what they had to say. But the worst thing is that people always that are around you, a clique of people who are always around you, they seem to be the ones who cause the most damage. Because you see in Donholm, they say that the fan base are the ones who are like going to war and they're breaking down things, fighting and all that, you know? So it's really not worth it at the end of the day. That's why one of the rules of diss tracks is let it remain always on record. You know, if you're gonna bring up your popularity from there, you're gonna do live shows, you're gonna make your name, then you're actually making money off these records. And so they say always leave the record on wax, like in the example of Jay-Z, you know, and Nas. It never got to war, you know. The other people that it did get to war with, of course, and they actually they threw some punches was the Game and 50 Cent. You know, you never want to get it to get there where now you're fighting each other, you know? So another reason why people do these diss tracks is they're trying to put out a legacy, you know? That they're the strongest. They're the ones who can win the beef, you know? And when you put it out there, you're trying to show that, you know what, I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you, you know, in what you're trying to put out. But this whole thing of I do trap dancehall and you're doing it now, it doesn't make sense, because now it's like all these crews are coming after each other. Now it may look good out there, but at the end of the day, how's it helpful? By the way, in case people don't realize, also in the UK, there have been these beefs. There have been these drill beefs. Some of them didn't end up well. Some of them end up where guys were being knifed, you know. So there is a potential of sometimes things going negative. On the Brooklyn video, I saw that they were there chopping up. They had guns in their hands. You know, people always, sometimes you may take it as it's lightly, but other people take all this stuff, and the fan base, they take it personal, and they're the ones who actually go to war. And something happens that's negative in that situation. You never want it to get there. You know, I feel like hip hop needs to be celebrated. It doesn't matter who comes in hip hop. If you have something to say, if you're a talented artist, then you have something to say, you have something to put out there. Let us celebrate hip hop, not tear each other down. There's been a lot of tearing down and over other years that have happened, and people realized that it was the wrong way to go. Actually, in one situation where the game had the beef with 50 Cent, I remember him stating that he feels ashamed of how he handled it, you know. He feels ashamed that it went to a certain lane that it shouldn't have gone to. And let us celebrate the music that we do. You know, hip hop has so many genres, you know, inside of it, you know, different art forms, you know, that are inside of it. But when people try to go to war and try to claim that they're the only ones who can do something, that's where it fails down, you know. And sometimes it may look cool right now, like people are beefing, but where does the beef end to? Where does it stop? You know, because you've been known in the hip hop game for a minute, and people have known you. You know, that's why I said sometimes that math doesn't math out. You know, it's not clear. You know, you feel like you should be the one to reign because you're doing it. But before you came along, by the way, the other guys were doing it. I remember there was a beef that went down. You can't really call it a beef, but it was more like some diss tracks that came out. And I remember Calligraph came and was going against guys in Tanzania, you know. And he even said, on this day, I'm going to bring out my diss track. He brought it out. People had opinions on both sides. And then in response, these Tanzanian artists also gave their response, you know. And they they gave their diss track back what they felt they wanted to say. But guess what? There was no war. There was no fighting. There was no even insults of, you know, people abusing each other with foul language. You know, and that's where I think it should be. I really think it should be where people can come and do their music the way it should be done, and hip hop can still reign. Because why are you in this? Why do you have even a career? It's because of the music. So let's keep it to the music. You know? Another reason is the audience sometimes they love seeing these beefs, you know, but they don't like seeing where it leads to. They don't like seeing the negative side about it, you know. And so here of course on the Vault, we're open to hear both sides of the story. We both hear like the real story. Sometimes things are not said, and so we invite these artists to come through, and we hear your points of view, the real points of view. Like I'm curious why there can only be one person who's made like trap dancehall famous in Kenya, and why that person only feels like they should be allowed to promote it further. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. And there'll probably be someone who comes along, and careers come to an end. They get finished. If you look some of the rappers who are in Kenya that have been there for years, you don't see them right now. Some of them are trying to live their careers right now from things they did in the past, but careers come to an end. And so if you're just gonna live and do your music and do it in a certain way and think that you're the only one can do it, then where is this going to? You know, for a long time, we didn't hear about guys like Kalamashaka, you know, and now you hear they're back and they're doing their thing, you know, all of them. Before you just hear about maybe Kama, sometimes you hear about Roba, but now you're hearing about Vigeti. He's back, you know. And the positive thing is in Kenya, we have so many artists from the past to the present who are great in what they do. Right now, we also have female artists who are rising up. You know, that's a great thing to see. We have artists from the past who are still there, who have been going things like, we can't forget about someone like Kitusua right now and everything that he's going through. still trying to raise for his surgery and make sure that he's okay. So as a public, even here at Icon, we're about promoting these artists and helping them in every way possible, you know. And so we have a lot of good artists from the past to the present who are doing their thing. But the one thing that's never positive is when you put your hands on someone or you want to fight something out. It may look good for a minute, but when that minute is over, what's next? What's really next, you know? So let's get back to normality. You know, there's so many people have given their versions online about what they feel about the diss tracks between these two artists, you know, between, let me say, Brooklyn Boys and, of course, Toxic Lyrically. There's so many people have given their view. I'm giving my view today, you know, about what I think, you know, and at the end of the day, I hope that it doesn't get any worse than it is right now. I pray and believe that everything will work out, you know, and these artists will continue having great careers in what they do and keep on having an influence. But remember, you know, let us put the music first. Let us put the music first, not the other stuff first. Let's not put the insulting and all the things first. Like I said, Oxido came and claimed that that his lyrics were basically they were taken by Brooklyn Boys, some lyrics, and he's actually put it online and showed his lyrics and everything they had done some time ago. And he said these guys stole his lyrics also. They're using his lyrics, you know, and there's a lot of that going on right now. There's other artists are saying also, you know, their lyrics have been stolen by other artists, you know. Can't mention every single one of them. But you know what? It's been great talking about this today. It's been great seeing it. I hope that when beef is done, you know, me the only beef that I recognize is the animal. These other beefs, they ain't worth it. They ain't worth it. But if you decide to go that pathway, put out your records. Do what you've got to do. Say what you got to say and move on. Today we're here on The Vault, playing, of course, Kenyan music, East African music, played some music from outside that's been there from back in the days. But we're all about promoting Kenyan East African music. It's KE music, East African music, all the way. I hope you enjoyed your time with the Beatmaker today. It was blessed having you, blessed sharing my point of view and what I think. And if you want to send in your music that we can play on The Vault, please send it in. You can reach us out online, you know, get all our details there and send in your music and definitely have you on the show. See what you artists are doing, what you're doing out there, what kind of music you're putting out there. We're all about promoting Kenyan music all the way. So stay blessed today. Yeah, it's been wonderful being with you. The Beatmaker, I'm out.
Yo, my studio, live is a bit of my Beatmaker, yeah. Full of attraction. Listen to me, yo. I know vibes, listen to me. I say, why not get any full attention? Me say, why not put up the full attraction? Wind up and give them the action. I say, why not get any full attention? The way we act it up is like a detention. Me say, why not put up the full attraction? I say, I watch you through devotion, like you take the love potion. What a wicked tough combination. Take you in the dance hall, take you through the love station. Get a lot of enough information. Yo, so we dance the night away, and we never get away. It's a nice and let me say we never let you run away. And we get a step away, so we find a better way. So we run it from Friday straight to Sunday. I say, why not get any full attention? It's a nice baby, see the information. Me say, why not put up the full attraction? Wind up and give them the action. I say, why not give them the full attention? The way we act it up is like a detention. Me say, why not put up the full attraction? So we put it on no style, from Friday straight to Sunday. They tell me say them no quick profile, say them take the week and we well versatile. But we take the blessings that can pile, and we no move fights up on me Peter Miles. I say why not give them the full attention? Peter Miles, baby, still the information. He say why not So them me have the gums. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Hand in the air. Hand in the air. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Let me see you put your hand in the air. Hand in the air. Hand in the air. Yeah, beat up as a let me feel. Yeah, we're gonna see some bring it to you a new tune. Big vibes, you hear me? Yeah, we don't run with the car and you know. Have a skill, speak up for yourself and all the dancers massive, you hear me? East Africa, watch out for this.
Yeah, Vol Cypher, the Beatmaker, 518, worldwide, beyond the music, Roughneck, What bad man target, I no practice, and the practice, I no low stone and stick, little parties to the magnum and say, goody fully loaded, extra clips, stepping at the shit, look for the door where I speak, and they told me I pay from the full stop free, what they claim them preach me teach, and them gun they stick, better call the car, runner, me know them not gone, none I never know nothing but gum, put off a mix up lead, damn cover, mix up the window of a car, roll out rubes, rev it up near damn, come from them and them speak, them then you want see, analyze it, fit for the sick, on the sick, then the body, not them DNA, go on like a baby, and not if for me a bay, but it's that they grown, they made it, they full of ball out me a day, mayhem, follow by bodies and dead men, come to stand up in me make them, undertaker get delivery on the DLA.
Yeah, serikali mkono ni refu, dingo wote ni sawa, siku za dingo ni 40, mbanga zake ni ripoti na noti, kama kuna ganji kesi kwa koti, juu ya tululu walivunjwa magoti, after the notice, na seti na mwenye ploti, hub ni holy, mali ni safi na roll, it comes slowly, mimi ni lori, wewe ni trolley, kama ni ngori wezani na story, mafafu ni wengi, ribazi jengi, hizo sipendi, mali za pedi, ngumu kumedi, akili ni nywele, cheki madredi, kama kanji siendi, god damn it, mogi ni mbaya, zingine zitenda retire, zungusha kataya, nasoma game, kari wire, daily kwa streets malaya, tada ni mbaya, hakuna chahaya, kukwaya, chafua kikwaya, mali ya kwaya, maliza desire, design, na washa makaya ni fire.
Yeah, kwa mfuko hutanipata na mali kwa kichondo mi hubebanga, before mtiote ni set me, hujichomanga, lishapatanga zile dawa Esther Wahome alikuwa nasemanga, mahabs tunaziskank, maidhasi, huzikaranga, unajichocha na pedi wako akinicheki ye hugo yanga, niju anajua viherehere wabangi vile si wafanyanga, tunapika kilo 3 ya ganja, kanyama tuna escort na uganga, na akidhani ye ni mjanja, na toa chala na tita waganga, ukweli muhimu, so mifanya zile vitu miusemanga, tombo watoto wajuzi walianza kuvuta vela na shasha, bonga na mi, dunda na mika woje kila si bossa blanca, celebrating 14 years of smoking weed, walai na sione nkiacha, kani kivela, buda, miuji kilili, na nikikosa kupedishiwa, mimi huwa sililili, silili, bilili, 518 in the building, tunachoma picha hadi kwa sililing, 518 in the building,
Here we go again. Lazima discipline. Walijaribu kuniua, sitawataja wanajijua, mafans wote wamegundua, walijaribu kunigusa, juu nimeuza, alirusha ngumi nikataka kafukuzwa. Yani hapa squeezy kuna marapa machizi, wanajiona uneti waliona kwa TV. Niko busy, sina time na mafisi, na siogopi DJ, sijali kao nikisi, rhyme zangu zimekomaa, zao ni mbichi, alisema vipi Isa hawa ni tishi, tuwe msitu fupi na kerende ya waizi, musisahau minajua mali munaishi, una bahati mungeniipia mungefungwa, na ningelipa yule askari anawachunga, siku watu wanaimba ndani kama ungwa, singwa walikuja wenyewe walitumwa, zetani hawatambini, isina ama amani, basi itabidi nitebe na wase wa mtaani, kwa nini hawatabini, isina ama amani, basi itabidi Wewe kose heshima veteran na kazi yake, kama mtoto akitukana wazazi wake. Umekasiwa na vasa haijarihasiwa. Mimi nilikuwa na roga ukiwa mtoto unanasiwa. Pewa maziwa, si uliambiwa na ziwa wajo. Sauti yako horrible, jaribu hokijo. Wacha kuroga jo, ficha mic kwa corridor. Ujui bado story yako ni boring jo. Walijaribu kunikopi lakini wako sloppy. Jaribu vile muda jaribu, you can't stop me. Na kufundisha whack MCs kwangu ni hobby. Matodhi, kwa nini hawataki ishi na amani? Basi itabidi nitembee na wase wa mtaani. We kwa nini hawataki ishi na amani? Basi itabidi nitembee na wase wa mtaani. Wewe simba bona no one plays the cassettes. Kwanza unafaa kupay your respects. Nilisema kwa compare simu ni muhimu. Na sakaria yako imesqueeziwa kama ndimu. Watu 8 wakija vita na mtu mmoja, ni kumaanisha wamenita yule ni soja. Lazima nawajibu kitu ntawatibu. Ikisha kushika unashika yule karibu. Niliambia styles waliiba style kwangu. Sasa nimetumwa kuwakilisha washabiki kwangu. Brathangu mwanangu, na ukisikia Shaka Zulu jua ni bambu. African Bantu, thank you. Kwa nini hawataki ishi na amani? Basi itabidi nitembee na wase wa mtaani. We kwa nini hawataki ishi na amani? Basi itabidi nitembee na wase wa mtaani. Wewe
Yes,
Socacere sakana, socacere sakana, socacere sakana, socacere sakana, socacere sakana. I am awesome, not your average Kenyan diva. You chicken hold your leash because I make her shiva. You can look all you want, but kick him all. Look at that, all my yummy, you see I need a style. If you think you can handle all this assets, nyaki bet kanga mani get tackle. Jet, unajua mini nani? I'm a diamond cutter, I got on, I'm a mayor, and I'm a visual fever. I need me paranoia. Nyarwo enyengani catch all when I need me. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any talking my love. I got a bottle in any talking my love. Therapy, talking my love. Talking my love. Mimi mwanzo na tena mimi ndiye mwisho. Usipoti okadaributa. Kaunitaki basi tembea. Unavyochanganyikiwa ninapopita. Kibwaro jabeka mimi. Unavyochanganyikiwa ninapopita. Kibwaro jabeka mimi. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any therapy. I got a bottle in any talking my love. I got a bottle in any talking my love. Therapy, talking my love. Therapy, talking my love. Wajua mimi nani binye? Do you know who I am? Who I am binye? I see you looking right at me binye. yeah. Do you like what you see? What you see? What you see? I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. To the beat. To the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty broken my low. I got a bottle in the nitty broken my low. To the beat. Broken my low. To the beat. Broken my low. I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty to the beat. To the beat. To the beat. I got a bottle in the nitty broken my low. I got a bottle in the nitty broken my low. To the beat. Broken my low. To the beat. Broken my low. Bully boy, tryna play me like a toy na hana pesa yani dona mimi baya mimi sona nikimpata ntamsot na mabare za uso so usicheze nami bro cause you are playing with a pro with black belt in taekwondo. Quit blowing up my phone and get a job unani bo. You're knocking on my door looking for a handout with your chest out thinking you a boss now. Please get down, hands up, I'm the bully now. Na Stephen Yiki kwa box I'm the donor call the shots. Unamea pembe na nimeleta wembe cause when you bully hepa so unadhani utaniweza thinking that you're clever. Kazi ni kasheshe na kabebe mingi chini ya kamiti. Sikiza sitaki drama mingi na sipendi wongo. Tuliza na usilete shida cause I'll pop up with my gang na tutakumaliza. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. When I ask you for some cash, you say acha hizo kuna pass. Ati kuna deal unategea, unasema taongea. Nimechoka kutegea, sasa natembea. I've been your sponsor, damn. I want to take it all back, all the things I did back to back. You think you made a fool of me? Nah, I'll have the last laugh. You can try to talk dirty to me. One is all I see. Mr. Smooth Operator, just a manipulator, low key a big hater, can never get it right. Na misi bembelezi, ata simu sichukui, ata piga hadi asubuhi, atalia, atajua hanijui cause mimi ni mzii na sitaki ufala cause mimi sifala na nina ubaya so wacha kujifanya cause una hanya. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. If you joke around, I'll pull up with my gang. I'll pull up with Carol. I'll pull up with Michelle. We don't joke around every time I'm with my gang. Step up on top cause all we bring is pain. If you see my clan, you are to my letter fire. It's a ladies and the men, bully boys retire. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. Bully boy, ganja si yako. Bully boy, love si yako. You know. It's the BEATMEKAH.
Yes, skill kwa pa hata hawezi pa hata easy pa hata. Yes sir. Underground excuse ya kutochezwa kwa radio.